Well, hey folks, how's it all going? And oh man, yeah, we are building a stand for the Wen Portable Planer today. And this, I tell you what, keep on watching. I'll show you how I did it. But this thing turned out, it turned out real good to me. This is 25 bucks. There's just some cheap 2x4s, a little bit of plywood, and then just the top that I built out of some used 3/4 inch melamine that I had. And I even put handles in here. You can see we've got wheels on one side, no wheels on the other side. So I decided to use those scrap 2x4s instead of getting casters, and then you can just take it around like a wheelbarrow. And it's got stops in there so you can't pull them out all the way. And like I said, that's just out of a scrap 2x4 and stops so they don't go further in. But I tell you what, keep on watching, folks. And you know, Tom Horseman at YouTube, you want to see some other stuff that I built. Obviously, I built that and the bench and everything else. But I've got a little wood shop going on down here. I'm just an amateur, folks. And like I said, stay tuned. You'll see how I did it. All right, folks, let's start building that holder for our planer. You can see it down there. We're actually going to use the planer to dimensionalize, big word, and clean up these 2x4s. These are really cheap 2x4s from Home Depot, 7-footers. Got them for, you know, $2 a piece. I got 5 of them, so that's 10 bucks right there. So let's, well, I'm probably going to cut these pretty much in half and then just run them through the planer, clean them up, give you a look. All right, I showed you, I'm just using a shop vac to do dust collection off the planer, and it seems to be working. I just want to see, did a whole bunch here. I want to see how full it is. So let's take it off here. Just take a gander. Sorry about my, oh yeah, look at that, we're full. So that's what I thought. So if you're wondering, can you do dust collection off this? I've had a couple people complain saying that it don't work very well. For me, it is, and this is just the Home Depot Cyclone with a rigid, you know, shop vac, and it's working just great. Is there a little bit of dust not making it, chips not making it in there? Yeah, but that bucket was empty when I started. So let me get that emptied, and I'm going to just do a little bit more planing, and we'll continue on. All right, so let's just take a look at what we did. This is the first real project I did where I planed everything. I like to plane my 2x4s, get everything of the same size, get them a little squared up, pretty them up a little bit, get all the ink and everything off there. And this thing really did a pretty decent job. I actually sent them through in pairs on edge and did the edges too. And it's pretty good. And there's a little snipe. You know, I ain't gonna hide that, but I'll tell you what, I sent these 7-footers through in pairs of 3, and it handled it no problem. In the dust collection, shop vac. I've heard so many people saying that this thing doesn't work right and that this gets plugged. Well, maybe it does. It didn't do it for me today, but and I was taking half a turn. So a half a turn, I believe 1 full turn is 1/16 of an inch. So I was taking 32nd at a time. So wasn't getting aggressive with it. You know, it's only a 2-blade planer, and it's a cheaper planer. But I'll tell you what, the results are pretty good. Let's keep on building here. All right, folks, I'm cutting my legs. What I want for my height is about 3 foot. As I said, I wanted everything to be at an angle. So I'm cutting 22.5. That's a preset on the miter box. I've got 2 of them cut so that it sits at about at that 36-inch mark. And then the other 2 got wheels on them, and I've got these wheels right here. Picked them up from the hardware store, and they're good for 121 pounds a piece, so that's about 250 pounds. Yeah, 250, yeah, just shy of 250 pounds. And they're 4 inches. So the other 2 legs, I gotta go 4 inches back. You can use whatever size. There was one size smaller that were like 90 pounds a piece, and that would have worked, but I like the little bit bigger wheel. I think it'll roll a little bit nicer. So get those cut. All right, so just a little tip here. Because we're at that 22.5-inch angle when we're doing our 4 inches for our wheel, we've got to do it perpendicular with our 22.5. So I just squared off off a line. And then this is what the original ones were. And remember, I got to be 4 inches shorter for our wheel. So went up, and then that's 4 inches from here to here. You're not going to go on the edge here to here. That would be more. That would be, I think, more. Yeah, it is more. So when you're doing the 4 inches for your wheel, make sure that you compensate for that 22.5 inch angle. I think that makes sense. Does it? Well, we'll keep on going. Find out. All right, so that's what that looks like. You get the idea. So let's start making some of the cross braces for this thing. All right, so I put a bunch of cleats on. The cleats, first of all, it makes it wide enough for the wheel to go on. You see I got the wheels on there, 4 screws. And then I did on the other ones to make up the difference in that 4 inches. And that'll be a 2x4 that's going to go across, that's going to connect these, you can call them A-frames, 22.5 degree A-frames together to make this rolling bench for thickness planer. Keep on going. All right, you can see what we're doing here, folks. We're putting sides together. This is the one with the wheels. And we got a 2x4 that's connecting in between here. My total distance across here is 22.75 inches. Cut a 22.5 degree angle on there. Glues and screws, and then up here I've got a piece of I think this is 3/8, or no, it's half inch plywood, and glues and screws also. So we're gonna do the other side yet, and one of these things that I put into the bench here, these little hold downs work really nice for clamps, and then I can just take my piece of wood, a little glue, put it on there like that, and put some screws. And we'll get this one together, and then I'll tell you what, we'll show you how we're gonna kind of tie the whole thing together. All right, there, now you're starting to get the idea of what we're building here. Put those one there, 22.5 degree angle, glues and screws, folks, about 20 inches long. Nice wide stance, and that's really important for when we're doing long boards using the planer. All right, folks, so I put the 3/8 exterior plywood on the bottom there. If you're wondering what I'm using for screws, this is what I'm using right here. This Grip Fast triple coated cabinet screws. Those are 2 inch. I've got some other ones out here, some Spacs that I'm using also that are 2.5s. These screws work fantastic. If you have a chance to use them, they're really nice. They do a great job. Along with the glue, they hold fantastic. All right, bring you up to date. A couple things here. I took what I had left. I didn't want to go over those 5 2x4s. I had just enough length left over down below. I ripped 1 1/2, put it down below. That'll strengthen up that whole thing, make that shelf really sturdy and sturdy the thing itself. If you're looking at that thing sticking out there, you're going, wow, what do you got going on there, Tom? Well, what I did, and you can see on that side, what I'm doing is I'm creating a slot. And then I took another section of 2x4, ripped it in half, and I'm actually making handles that pull out. And I got a stop on them. They hit that plywood, and then you just you can take and you can roll the whole thing around like a wheelbarrow, and then push it back in. And I've got a stop on the other side too. So I'm gonna make another. I've got another one of those already made up. If you're wondering why it's shiny, because once it's in there, I can finish it, but it was easier to finish it outside. They put a couple of coats of shellac on there. So we'll get the other side going. If you're wondering what I did then. Then you can see I put plywood on the outside and on the inside, and that creates that pocket. When I had those cut, I ran them through the planer and made them a little bit narrower than that gap so they slide nice. And then once I have the plywood in there, I just shoot a screw into the plywood, and that's my stop on that side. And then you can see how the plywood goes below the channel here, and I cut a groove in that, well, hang on, why don't I just show you? Huh. So here's the other one, so you can see it's not pretty. But I cut a stop in there, and that's what hits when you're pulling it out on the plywood and keeps it from coming out. So we'll continue going. I'm getting a little fancy here, but I saw a need to want to be able to move this around a little bit easier, and I had some scrap left over, and that's what we're doing. All right, folks, continue on with our stand here for the Wen thickness planer. What I'm doing here is I had some 2x4 left over that I split, not split, but ripped and then finished, and I'm going to put that as a trim. My top here is just some leftover particle board that I had from another project. It'll work just fine. I'm starting to put some shellac on. I'm going to use the amber shellac some of these accents, and then I'm going to go with the clear shellac for the rest of it. My shelf down there, I'm going to fill this whole, sand it, and then I'm going to prime and paint that to match, you know, my workbench, the Battleship Gray there. Well, it's kind of lighter than that. But anyway, we'll give you a look-see when we're done, because we're just about there. All right, folks, there's the final product. I tell you what, this is a lot of fun to build, and I really went into this not knowing. I kind of had an idea. I knew I wanted to do the legs at an angle. Other than that, everything else just kind of filled in. And like I said, this was less than 25 bucks, and it was a lot of fun to build. Hope you enjoyed this. Tom Horseman at YouTube. Please subscribe, thumbs up, leave a comment, and as always, folks, thanks for watching.